to night 2 of the KitBash3d Festival.
What's up, guys?
Everybody, thank you for joining us. We are so pumped up. We've got an incredible show for you tonight. We got Mr. Bobby Chiu here, and we also have Mr. Peter Han a little later. We're going to be showing a number of different techniques. What we thought is, let's start with some of the Blade Runner guys we had on the last show, and let's bring it into, now let's go back to pen and paper. And let's talk about, from the beginning, how do we create images using a pen and pad. So where some of the 3D stuff that we started with last week might have felt a little advanced or a little over your head for some of y'all. But now we're going to talk tonight about drawing. And to do that, we brought two of our very favorite pen to paper artists, Bobby and Peter, and we're going to dive into that.
Yeah, this is about foundations, fundamentals. I think it's going to be really cool to show a lot of this stuff. And if you watched Tuesday's episode, it's going to become very clear how a lot of this stuff applies, especially George Hull talking about how he designed some of those vehicles for Blade Runner and finding different shape languages in nature or finding inspiration in different things. Tonight is going to be really about how do you use those tools and at a fundamental level, what does that mean? With that, while we are saying it's pen and paper, actually a lot of it is still digital art.
Digital.
We're going to be working on a Wacom Cintiq, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be the digital painting version of this to try to mix it up and bring a little Bob Ross into the modern age.
Huge shout outs to Twitch for having us here tonight. As many of y'all know, it is the Bob Ross Marathon, one of the most fun times of the year. And the Bob Ross Marathon will end at 8 p.m. PST, which it is right now. And then we will pick up for the next 2 hours. And then at 10 o'clock, the Bob Ross Marathon will start again. So in the nature of Bob Ross, how he showed so many people that they too could pick up a brush and paint for themselves, that's what we're going to hope to do for you all and with us on digital art for movies and games. And as many of you know already, the chat has exploded. Please hit us up in the chat. We are going to be paying attention to it. We both have it up here, and we got it on the screen as well, and we are looking forward to engaging with you. The most fun part about doing this live is that we get to talk. So,
yeah, ask any questions you have. This is one of the reasons why we put this whole thing up, is so that you guys can ask amazing artists like Bobby and Peter the questions that you have. We have a ton of questions that we're going to go through, but we promise to get as many of your questions in.
And looking down the chat, it is so exciting for us to see.
A lot of Bob Ross here.
So many of our friends, people that we constantly see on and get to engage with on a weekly basis on our show here. What up, Droki?
We got Forrest Lamb.
Forrest, E-Man, Shu is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. E-Man, of course, was on our show on Tuesday. And was rocking it. So I think without further ado, let's bring on our first guest, Mr. Bobby Chiu. Now he's, there he is, Bobby Chiu. What up, man?
What's up, Bobby?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Feeling alive. Looking forward to this. I drank more than enough coffee to keep me up because I am on the East Coast. So right now it's like a little bit past 11 for me. And I'm usually an early riser, but for you guys,
Well,
woke up late to stay up late.
We couldn't be more appreciative of you. I know this is past your bedtime, and we're so excited to have you here. It means the world to us to be able to do this live, and I know the chat is excited to get to ask you questions too.
For those of you who don't know Bobby runs a school called Schoolism, which I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was the first online art school, correct?
That's correct, yeah. 13 years ago.
15 years ago.
13 years ago, going on 14.
Yeah.
14, wow.
I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an amazing school where they have incredible artists who are always teaching classes, and I think just about every one of your artists is one of the big name concept artists or designers or painters in the film and animation industry.
Yeah, totally. I actually, it's funny because when I started it, I just wanted to learn from these artists for free because I didn't have, that much cash to throw around for education. So it kind of started off with a kind of selfish reason for myself, to gain some knowledge. But it's really one of the most positive that we do now, that I do.
That's amazing. And do you still teach classes on there?
I do. I have a couple classes on there. I don't do any of like the full classes right now where there's feedback directly from the instructor that you signed up for. That's kind of like the premium level, but everybody can get my class as well as the other 25 classes for the cheap, low price of $30. You know, we try to make it as accessible and as affordable as possible. We're really trying to change the world here.
That's amazing.
That's so cool, man. I think it's so important to get to spread knowledge, you know, and we have so many awesome artists come on our show and talk about how hard it was 15 years ago to get information. You had to go an apprentice for someone for years, and maybe in the last little bit he'd show you a trick or two, and I think, you know, what you're doing with Schoolism is so wonderful to get to spread the word and pay that sort of knowledge forward.
You know, if I may, I'll tell you a short little story. We get a lot of very positive emails, and one that really hit me, that really made me understand what we're doing here, was from this man in Sri Lanka, and he was saying, you know, he's a bus driver, doesn't make that much, and he always told his kids that we can't afford college for you guys. They all loved art, and so, you know, they told him about the Schoolism subscription. You can pay for a year for like $300.
Wow.
So he took out a loan out of his bank, and for $300, you know, and put all his kids through college. And now, like, they're actually doing freelance and actually, you know, earning money from doing art. So
that's amazing.
That was pretty amazing.
That's so
super cool.
We have, you know, we haven't been doing this for nearly as long as you have, Bobby, but we've been part of things like that where people have reached out to us and said, you know, X, Y, or Z of the, you know, the kits or one of the episodes has helped inspire them or enabled them to dive in deeper into this career. And that's really what we want to do with this show here. Is we thought, what an amazing opportunity, partnered with Twitch for the Bob Ross event, to show a whole bunch of people, mainly kids, I think, out there who love movies and games, but don't necessarily know some of the other jobs around. They don't know that concept art and creature design are jobs that they could even aspire towards.
Yeah, that's a huge kind of mission of mine as well. That's why I love you guys and couldn't be happier to be on here.
Well, I'm so excited to know you and to have you out here.
Well, let's go to the beginning.
Yeah.
I want to hear how it started, how like Bobby Chiu started. How did you first hear about, like, were you always an artist when you were a kid? Sorry, I'm jumping right in.
Well, what was it like with your parents growing up?
I loved art. My parents loved the fact that I did art until the day I told them, you know, I think I want to be an artist. What do you guys think about that? And like many of you out there that might be listening to this, they weren't the most pleased. They kind of pictured me sitting on the corner of a busy street trying to do caricatures and not making a lot of money. And of course, pretty much most of our parents, they just really care about us and they want us to do well. So they thought that they knew what was best for me, which was to become a lawyer, a doctor, go to business school. So I went to business school, and then I didn't do very well. I failed every course because I was bringing pastels into accounting class and watercolor into statistics. I had no interest, you know, so I failed everything. And then my mom was like, okay, well, you better know what you're doing because it looks like you're going to art school. Right? And I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to show you, now that you finally realize the path I should be on, I'm going to apply for this art school. I'm going to get in and I'm going to do awesome. And so I applied, and did I get in? No, I didn't get in. You know, how bad does that feel when it's like you're struggling to get your way for so long, and then you get it, and you know the world tells you you're not good enough. So I applied for this very simple program that you could totally get in if you had like 70 or higher or something like that. And that was called Art Fundamentals. If you had a pulse, you're pretty much in, right? But it took they took the top 5% of everybody that was taking that course, and they were allowed to get into animation and pass the portfolio review stuff. So I worked my butt off and got in through that. And between that and high school, there was also a point where I took a job at a warehouse, and this company that owned the warehouse, they made toys, and they made toys for, Star Wars, Batman, Superman, Pixar, all that. And that, working with those, like fixing them, taking them off the truck and everything, got me interested in art. Spent a lot of time in the art department there and learned a new software called Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. #1 for all the young folks out there. Yeah, it was the first one. And I think like Photoshop 2, Photoshop 3 maybe. That was pretty much useless at that time. If you had a 100-pixel brush, for all those people that know how to use Photoshop, you do a brush stroke, you pretty much get up, go get a coffee, come back, and hopefully that brush stroke has finished painting across the screen.
Huh. Man, well, let's jump in and take a little look at some of your art. I want to just remind the audience, we're going to show a lot of some of Bobby's professional work now, but keep in mind that this is from a guy who just told you that he didn't get into art school on his first attempt. And I'd like to keep diving into a little bit more of the process and the beginnings. I think the origin story is really exciting for this show. But I think while we flip through some of this artwork off of your ArtStation page, we can take a little we can talk more about how you went from a kid who didn't get in to working in this fundamental class. What would you say was kind of a turning point for you along the way? I can't hear him. Hey Preston, I've lost audio.
Bobby, can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear Bobby now.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there were a lot of no's along the way. First time I asked if I could be an artist, no. First time I tried to get into art school, no. Then I tried to get into computer animation, no. And the list goes on and on. And I ended up finding myself being the computer guy at a television studio. So what does the computer guy do? What does he draw? Nothing. So I just kind of drew my own thing and put it on my wall behind me or whatever. And I was the computer guy, known as the computer guy that liked to draw.
Wait, you were doing like IT and stuff? Or...
I was the data manager. So files would come in from studios in India or Ireland, and I would look at the files and go, okay, this is for this show. And now I have to transfer a gig of data to this department. And then that's like 20 minutes. So then I'll just do some drawings, stuff like that.
So you found those little extra minutes where you had a day job that took care of you, and then with those little extra pockets of time, you found you could pursue your passion.
That did definitely help. But one of the best things about the whole entire experience.
Preston, I'm losing his audio. Preston, I've lost his audio. Well, maybe just go back to him and we won't look at art.
Okay.
Could you, just so I know, could
Was
you
that
hear
okay?
us while we were there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got a little audio technical hiccup here, but I think we might be able to work it out. But in the meantime,
it wouldn't be a live stream without a technical hitch.
Indeed, yeah. I mean,
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I've been through a bunch of them myself, interviewing people on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. But yeah, the whole entire idea.
So, how did you get from what was the next step? You were doing data management.
Yeah, And at night, I was posting online. I was posting on this site called conceptart.org, on this site called cgtalk.com, and building up my presence on there and getting, really small, but not so good freelance jobs. But I would take the ones that I thought had cool topics, because none of them paid very well. And, cool topics that I wanted to pursue. Like I wanted to do movies and fantasy and sci-fi and weird stuff. So anyways, it got to a point where I was doing so much freelance for very little pay at night, and then doing my daytime job, so sleeping like 4 hours a day. And I saved up a bunch of money, so I decided to quit. And in that quitting, in that very same day that I told my boss I'm going to go pursue my dreams, I came home and the computer wouldn't start. That day, right? And back then there was no USB drives, right? It was just well, maybe there were, I forget, but it probably just held like a couple megabytes. You can get writable DVDs for $60, but you can't rewrite them either. So I didn't have any backup. I lost everything.
Oh my God.
Right? That very first day that I decided to go freelance full time.
Oh,
So that was my
Jesus.
huge low point, right?
Did you let that deter you, or did that fuel you further?
No, he quit forever.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. He was like, nope, never again.
That was one of the lowest points, because I'm a very positive kind of person, but in that moment, there was a moment where I thought to myself, maybe I did the wrong thing. Maybe I decided to do what fate doesn't want me to do, and fate is now telling me to get my old job back. But then afterwards, right afterwards, pretty much, another kind of voice creeped in, and that was, you've been getting no's all your life, and think about how many things you would have accomplished if you never kept pursuing what you wanted after that first no. And that answer would be nothing. I would have accomplished nothing, because I always had a no at first, even when 8 of my friends all applied for McDonald's, and I was the only one that didn't get hired. I don't know why, but it was just life. Life always did that to me. So then, once I kind of realized that, I kind of picked myself back up, and the phone rang, and it was this artist I really looked up to, and I emailed 2 weeks ago, named Steven Silver. And I told him, I'm trying to be an artist. I nothing's working. Do I have what it takes? Let me know, because even if you say no, I won't be mad, I promise. I just want to know if I'm wasting my time. And he said, 2 weeks ago, he said, give me your number, I want to call you. And then he didn't call, right? And I went back to work. And then I kind of gave up on the idea that he's going to call. And then in that moment, when I was at my lowest point, and then realized, hey, I've been getting those all my life, and that's never stopped, so it shouldn't stop me now. And that very moment when I realized that, the phone rang, and it was Steven Silver on the phone. It's like, hey, buddy, and he was talking to me for over an hour, just telling me it's really any kind of born talent plays so little part in your success, and that we are pretty much all kind of blessed with the tools. Pretty much, we don't need to be 300 pounds full of muscle, 6'6" to be able to do this. Right? We just need to put in the time, effort, and logic, and we can absolutely do it.
Man, hearing you talk about some of your lowest moments, and how from that you found that it's not about talent, it's about perseverance, and it's about digging in, I think is so inspiring for me. I'm sure that's exactly what someone out there in the chat needs to hear right now too.
Yeah, and especially I think as artists, when you're starting out, I feel like there is that time in the beginning where it is so hard to get off the ground. And if you're an artist out there, I think just hearing that story from Bobby is like, yes, like when you're at your lowest, that's when I feel like it's always when you give up on a lifeline. You're like, I'm just gonna keep going and I'm not waiting for anyone else. That's when someone else appears to help you. It's like a Murphy's Law.
You know, Bobby, I've heard a legend about you, and I'm dying to know if it's true. But was there ever a like a divine source of inspiration that came to you along the way? Did you ever see a hypnotist? Is what I've heard.
Oh man, yeah. In college, so in college there was this kind of X-rated hypnotist that would come once a year to the college and do a show, do a kind of performance where he would hypnotize a bunch of people and make them do, kind of funny stuff that's related to kind of like sexual kind of humor. This is going the wrong way, but so I was there with my friends, and I'm looking at my friend. We're talking, and the hypnotist Tony Lee, he was saying, "Okay, so everybody that wants to participate, you're going to put your hands together, and you're going to think about this, you're going to think about that." And so me and my friend were kind of prodding each other, going, "Okay, you're going to do it, right? Okay, if you do it, I'm going to do it." And we both keep looking at each other. Okay, and we're like pushing our hands together, and we're like, and Tony Lee's like, "Okay, 3, 2, 1, you're going to go twice as hard, pressing in your hands together. Okay, twice as hard, and then concentrate on this, concentrate on that, and press twice as hard again, 3 times as hard," and so on and so forth, for a good, solid, I don't even know how long, maybe 15 minutes. And then after the 15 minutes of just pure concentration, he tells the crowd, "Okay, anybody that can't get your hands apart, come up and I'll help you." So me and my friend, we kind of look at each other and we go up, right? And I swear this will go back to art somehow. But we are up on the stage, and I can't get my hands apart. I truly can't. And he, says his thing and goes sleep. And as he's doing his little hypnosis thing again, I start to kind of see, kind of like, I have my eyes closed because he's telling me to keep my eyes closed. But when you have your eyes closed and you can kind of see static almost, right? It's not pitch black. That static all of a sudden started to do a wave, and then I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" And then I'm out. And when I wake up, instead of 30, 40 people on stage, there's like 6 or 7 of us. And my friend is now gone, and he is in the audience. And then I'm like, "Oh no, I'm part of the show." End up doing all this embarrassing stuff. Told me I was Chippendale Dancer of the Year, and now I'm like representing my country and all this stuff. And yeah, so did a lot of really kind of humiliating things. But at the end, he said, "Okay, as you're leaving, you're going to remember everything. Everything's going to flood back to you of what happened tonight once you leave the doors." And so I leave the doors, and of course, everybody's looking at me. And then all of a sudden, it all hits me in this huge flood. And I realize I was hypnotized. So I go back in, and I go to the hypnotist. I'm like, "Okay, can you hypnotize me to work harder than I've ever worked before in school?" And he says, "Yeah." And he goes, and he does that. And he hypnotizes me and says, "Anytime that you drink out of a water fountain, it'll taste like your favorite alcoholic beverage." And that's how I knew that I was hypnotized, because for almost a week, every time I drank out of a water fountain, it would taste like, back then it was like a rum and Coke. I guess that was my go-to drink of,
Wait, this is a thing that's possible?
This happened to Bobby.
It totally happened. It totally happened to me.
This is
I can have water fountains taste like a nice fine scotch. Like this is
Yeah,
game
yeah.
changing.
Love
You
it up.
sip
That's
in the
the
water
thing.
fountain. You know, but that was kind of like okay, yeah, it did actually do something because no joke, I know it's water. I see that's water, but when I taste it, it tastes 100% like a rum and coke. Like I don't get it. Um,
Did you get
but
just so much work done that week? Was it just like the most productive week you ever had?
I was super hungry. Yeah, for sure. That's when I really, really turned it up. But as well, like I tell people, it was something I really wanted to do as well.
Mhm.
Right. So who knows how much of it was just like my own excuse to myself to be able to turn it up. The key could have always been there.
I feel like that's such a great skill of good hypnotists or good therapists or good mind readers of sorts. They find what it is that you want and then can reflect it back onto you. And then they can be a great source to help reveal what it is that you truly desire. And then I can imagine with that kind of knowledge of knowing at that age, here's what I really want, and here's what I truly desire, then he set you on the path to become Bobby Chiu.
Yeah, it sounds like you just needed a little nudge towards that anyways too, because it sounds like you were hungry before that. You knew you wanted it. It was just like, oh, here's an excuse to go for it. And whether or not it was amplified, but I feel like you haven't slowed down from that since.
No, no. Like back then I thought I was going real hardcore, but then you grow up a bit, you mature a bit, and then you have like friends that have kids and stuff, and they're telling you, you have no idea how you have. Like once you have kids, then you find out, oh, how much time I had. And I really took that to heart and started really observing like how I spend my time. Um, and if you do as well, listeners out there, especially take awareness of how much time you spend in between stuff, in between one thing that you need to do and the other thing, because a lot of times we spend a good solid 10 minutes, and you do this maybe 5 or 6 times throughout the day or maybe more, and then that's an hour or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think those little in between moments when you can, so much of that over time, like you say, and just collects into what could have been a whole second career and a new passion for you.
Bobby, I want to jump forward and I want to talk about what was the moment as you went freelance and started to take these little concept art jobs and hit your lowest point and got rallied by an artist you admired. What do you consider was your big break? What was the moment where you're like, oh, okay, now I know I'm going to be successful as an artist?
Yeah, right. Especially when you're freelance, it's like there's this fear in you. Can I really make it? And then there's hopefully this point where you're like, I kind of feel like things are going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, that was Tim Burton. Working on Alice in Wonderland. That was my 6th film that I worked on, and the first 5 never came out. Right.
Whoa,
And
wow.
yeah, like one was with it was supposed to be with Tom Hanks. It came out eventually in a different version. One was with Jim Carrey, and then so on and so forth. And it was just, like bad luck really stuck to me in the beginning. But in a way where like now I realize that was the best thing for me, because I didn't need to succeed to keep going forward. And if anybody is like that, then I feel like anybody can succeed. It's like Forrest Gump running. Why does he need to run? He's not succeeding in nothing, but he keeps running, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, working on that movie was huge for me, because especially the people that remember when that came out, that became the 4th highest grossing film of all time this is before Marvel and all that stuff took over. But
What did you do on Forrest Gump? Help us.
On Alice in Wonderland.
He's talking about Forrest Gump, right?
He did
oh
not.
no, I was just saying, I would have loved to.
Alice in
Oh,
Wonderland.
my bad. Okay. Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
Alice
you
in
did
Wonderland.
the
Broke. Well, can you help us in the audience understand a little bit more about what a creature designer does and what part of the process they're involved in?
It's the best thing ever. Like my job, most of the time, it's I read the script, I talk with the director, we talk about his vision, take a bunch of notes, and then I try to draw the creature, the monster, whatever that I think the director wants to see. You know, how much fun is that? So it's just pure imagination, and usually it's very imaginative stuff. Usually the things I get are stuff that doesn't exist.
So like when you join a team or a project like Alice in Wonderland, what's the first thing that, do you go in for a meeting and do you talk to the production designer or to the director, or what's the process of designing creatures for a movie like Alice in Wonderland?
Well, yeah, that was a huge thing, because you have Disney, their camp, and then you have Imageworks, that's who made the special effects, and then you have Tim Burton, he has his own kind of camp as well. You know, so I pretty much always worked with Ken Ralston, who's also one of my artistic heroes as well. He was a supervisor on the original Star Wars, and he was also special effects supervisor on Forrest Gump. I was just mentioning that I had nothing to do with. But you know, I got to work under him. He has such a wealth of knowledge. It's unbelievable. So that was one of my favorite projects.
Awesome. Would you get like snippets from the script, or would Ken brief you
Oh,
on like these are the types of...
Yeah, I had a full script for that one, but sometimes you don't, right? Like if it's a really, really secretive film, then sometimes you don't, or if they're in some giant hurry, sometimes you don't. But usually I do.
Gotcha.
Well, man, I could sit here and talk to you all night, but I know that it is very close to your bedtime. So before or I guess it's actually past your bedtime. So before we do wrap this up, though, there are just a couple other things that I would love to talk to you about. I know that, and by the way, I'm crushed that we can't be showing your artwork while we're having this talk. Guys out there in the chat, I'm going to throw it into the chat again. Go to Bobby's art station and do a deep dive on his work. It's absolutely unbelievable. His characters are some of the coolest things you will ever see. And I'm sure
I can show you some stuff that I've just been working on tonight. It's...
There you go.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Well, just some small paintings.
Wow.
That's awesome. Huh.
Just like while I was kind of keeping myself busy.
Bobby, one of the last things that, like, I know we don't have that much more time with you, but one of the things I want to make sure we chat about a little bit is, can you tell us about you just announced that you were throwing a big art event in Los Angeles. What's the deal with the event? Can you give us the rundown?
Yes, it's going to be awesome. You guys are going to be coming. Peter Hahn's going to be coming. It's literally like the best of the best artists out there that are behind your favorite things. So did you ever want to know and like meet and like see these people that are behind your favorite TV shows, your favorite games, your favorite movies? That's exactly what we're doing. Kind of like the biggest, best artist gathering, artist focused event in hopefully the world.
That's awesome. And get to meet them in person and actually drool all over them.
Yes, and you know, learn.
Yeah. Yes.
So that if you want to do the same thing, then this is the perfect way to, you know, perfect steps to going on the path.
Yes.
Amazing.
I mean, we've been lucky to get to travel to a few art festivals, and we're so excited to be there for this one next year in Pasadena in September 2019. But I think there's nothing cooler than getting to be up close and personal with your favorite artists and get to hands-on learn and
get to meet the person behind the artwork. Mm-hmm. That's always a crazy thing for me when I've like known someone's artwork for so long, but I don't know even what they look like or sound like or anything, and then you actually get to meet them and hang out with them and have a conversation and get to know the actual human being behind the artwork.
That's one of like the biggest things about this event is that it's like 300 some odd artists that will be participating, exhibiting. So you could buy artwork from them that'd be like special and cool, and or you can learn from them and talks and things like that. And then you're gonna just have a whole bunch of their awesome, cool friends that also work on super cool stuff that are just hang out.
Yeah.
So like the lineup is super cool, but also the location is something special as well, because it's the Pasadena Convention Center. That auditorium at the Pasadena Convention Center is where Michael Jackson first debuted his moonwalk. Like there's
Wow.
history, and we're about to make history. So everybody sign up for lightboxexpo.com.
That's awesome. And I'm going to put the link in the chat for everyone right now so they can check it out. Bobby, where can people find more of you? Where can they find more of Schoolism and your animation studio that we didn't even get to chat about yet?
I think the best thing is just probably like look me up, Bobby Chiu, CHIU. And you could get on. I have a lot of videos out there that are free content just for the artists out there, and of course we have schoolism.com.
Yeah, go check those out. Get involved if you guys want to learn more about this. You wanna try your hand, or you want to further your skills. Check out schoolism.com. You want to be sure to get on the email list for the Lightbox Expo, and do yourself a favor. Follow Bobby on Instagram. He's got one of the coolest Instagrams and just tons of characters coming at you all day long.
Awesome.
Man. Well,
Bobby,
yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on here. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, this has been so awesome, and having you here means the world to us. So thank you for staying up late, and we hope your early morning isn't too slowed from it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.